Alan Colmes is the host of the Alan Colmes radio show. Katie Pavlich is a news editor at townhall.com, and both are Fox News contributors. Good morning to both of you. Boy, it is not a good morning for these families. You look at these young faces of these brave young men and women, and let's pull their pictures up now and take a look at their names as well, because we have Joseph Peters, Cody Patterson, Jennifer Moreno, Jeremiah Collins, and Patrick Hawkins, all of whom have given their lives for our country. And no doubt, for their families, the foremost thing in their minds is the loss of their loved one. But added to that, they have the injury of not receiving the benefits that is supposed to allow them to come to the base this morning, to travel there, and to carry out the grim work that lies ahead of them, Alan. How does this happen? It happens because somebody, and I don't know who, felt there was some flexibility in terms of what could or could not be paid for. Whoever made that decision that this would be one of those things upheld or until such time as the government was reopened, made a very, very bad decision. Thankfully, with the help of Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Fisher House stepped in. They're offering to fund this until such time as hopefully today, when Congress can reinstate this kind of payment. Yeah, you know, it always amazes me, the efficiency of charity in this country when individuals step forth and do what needs to be done. A lot of people, Katie, are, responding to us on social media and Twitter today. They believe that the ultimate decision here has to come from the top, that the commander-in-chief has to take responsibility for this decision.
Absolutely. Barack Obama should come out today and talk about this as the disgrace that it is. I agree with Senator Lindsey Graham that this is a failure of government to provide the basic necessities for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country, so that we can have these debates here today about whether, how the government is shut down. This is a situation where 83% of the government is still running, Martha. That's right. 83%. This is about priorities. Who didn't think that this was going to happen, and that maybe they should prioritize the families who are losing a loved one for the sake of the rest of the country? And one more thing real quickly, I think we forget sometimes that we are still at war. And this is a perfect example of how we need to be reminded there are still people dying overseas, and we need to remember that that is happening and honor them in an appropriate way. This is not the way to do it. It's a disgrace. Yeah, I mean, it's very striking, both of you, because this law was passed that was supposed to cover the military benefits, and there was an assumption in Congress on the part of many that this would be included, that the benefits would extend to the family members. But then we're learning this morning, that the Department of Defense lawyers, the Department of Justice lawyers, and according to NBC, and we're working to see if we can verify this, White House lawyers stepped in and said, oh, you know what, this actually does not extend to family members. That decision made in the heat of all of this shutdown, when you've got the congressional gym open and other things going on that don't seem to be taking priority, it looks, Alan, like it could be a make sure that everybody feels the pain campaign
it's
here.
It's a terrible decision, and we certainly have the desire to point fingers. I'd like to know who made the decision. Whoever made it made a terrible decision, and you're absolutely correct. Keep the congressional gym open, but not take care of the death benefits for fallen soldiers. It's a terrible, terrible idea.
But Alan, I mean, what I'm asking is this part of the program? Shut it down, don't let the World War II vets in, and then they went. Is this part of the sort of, I hate to say, like PR campaign to make this painful for everybody, to point fingers politically and say, well, this is what you got? Because if it is, we've stepped over a pretty dangerous line.
I hope not. Look, I have my own view about who's responsible for the government shutdown in the first place, which may be the bigger issue, but I don't think this particular part of it should be a part of a political football, and whoever made this decision should be held responsible for making a terrible, terrible choice.
Do you think, Alan, that the president should come out, as Katie has suggested today, and say, I'm the commander-in-chief, these families are going to get this money, and they're going to get it today?
As commander-in-chief, I think it would be very, very helpful for him to say something like that.
Katie, do you expect that he will?
I'm not sure that he will. He's been kind of absent in this entire debate. The only time we've seen him come out to talk to us is when he's complaining about House Republicans and John Boehner. He's not someone who usually comes out and takes responsibility. He didn't come out and talk about the World War II vets when they were barricaded from their own memorial at the direction of the White House. When the honor flight asked for the White House to open up that memorial up, they said no. I wouldn't be surprised if this came all the way from the top, and if this is part of making it hurt, the White House House has a lot of explaining to do in a time of these families' needs.
I don't think this is the time to be playing politics on something like this. You're using this as an excuse to blame the White House, blame the president, blame Democrats.
I simply said he should come out and say something, Alan. I simply said he should come out and say something. He didn't say something when the World War II vets were outside of their memorial in wheelchairs, sitting there in front of barricades on the mall. He should come out and talk to these families directly, which he hasn't done. He's been absent in his leadership on this entire thing.
That is your opinion, and you're using this as an excuse to go. You're using this as an excuse to go after the commander-in-chief, which I think is an unfortunate way to play politics about something that's truly important.
Well, I mean, but Alan, it's a legitimate question.
We want to play politics. Let's talk about who's responsible for the shutdown in the first place.
You know what? It's a legitimate question, and when we need to find out who made all of these decisions, right? Because we know decisions were made. 83% of the government is open. So the question is, the reports are this morning: Department of Defense and the Pentagon. And the Department of Justice, Pentagon and the Department of Justice, excuse me, and potentially White House lawyers. So people do need to be held accountable for these decisions because they're being made.
I agree. Let's find out who made the decision. And I just said before, that person should be held accountable. All
right, guys. Thank you. We'll see where it goes. We're going to be on top of it all morning because there's going to be a vote in Congress. Thanks very much, Katie and Alan.
Thank you.
To try to make sure that what they thought was in this bill that would cover these families is indeed in it. And, I expect that will pass quite easily this morning.
What do you think? You're watching at home. We'll see it play out together. At Martha McCallum, at Bill Hemmer. Twitter lines are open now on this topic. Debt ceiling, shutdown, veterans benefits. And there are bodies coming home today in our nation's capital.